Today in the salon, we had Candice Mascal, a brand strategy consultant and business coach. The reason why I wanted to bring her in is because Candice has an illustrious career. She started at MTV, she was at Disney, Verizon, Samsung. She's worked with the Black Eyed Peas and even Taylor Swift.
It was honestly like an incredible 20 plus years. I loved it and I got where I wanted to go and I did what I wanted to do. And when I got there, I just was like, wow, this was amazing. But I still felt like it wasn't feeding my soul. And I really I realized that my passion was building brands, but my superpower was really building people.
Instead of continuing to climb the corporate ladder, she decided to actually get off and start her own path, blaze her own trail, and do what is actually her greatest skill set and talent, which is seeing the best in other people. So now she spends her time coaching leaders, helping startups position themselves, and for me, helping me see that I'm actually not the imposter that I thought I was, because I got to enjoy meeting her when I was actually looking for a coach. So I really wanted to bring her on, especially as people are pivoting their careers or unfortunately being laid off, just to hear from someone who left it all behind to start something completely new. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on the salon. Today, I am thrilled to introduce you to Candice Mascal. She is a business and leadership coach, and she's here with us today to talk about how she got to where she is, what she left behind, and what made her decide to change her entire career. So a little bit about Candice. She has had a long career in the marketing and communications industry. She's certainly made a name for herself and then realized that she just wanted to do something a little bit more with her life. So we're here to learn more about the courage it takes to get off the ladder, actually, and kind of tread your own path. So Candice, thank you for being here with us.
Oh, Sarah, thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here. I love your podcast and I'm honored that you want to hear more about my story. So
Oh
thank
my
you.
gosh, I want to hear everything. First of all, just as a side note, when I was going back through your LinkedIn, I did not realize that you had worked for Disney and Verizon, and at one point, the Black Eyed Peas Peapod Foundation. So give us like a little bit of a recap. I'm going to call it like, you know, pre-Candace, pre-deciding that, you just wanted to do something more than working for someone else.
Yeah. So, I had a whole other maybe two lives before you and I connected, but I spent over 20 years building brands and campaigns for some of the largest companies in entertainment, MTV. I started my career at MTV,
That's
worked at
right.
ABC, Disney, and then it was amazing. I did a lot of different communications programs, marketing influencer programs, and I spent a lot of time collabing with a lot of talent, Taylor Swift, Fergie, Black Eyed Peas. I did spend time working directly for the Peas. I oversaw communications and marketing for their foundation, their children's foundation, the Peapod Foundation. And it was honestly like an incredible 20 plus years. I loved it and I got where I wanted to go and I did what I wanted to do. And when I got there, I just was like, wow, this was amazing. But I still felt like it wasn't feeding my soul. And I really I realized that my passion was building brands, but my superpower was really building people. And so, I made a pivot and I left and I took everything I knew from entertainment and marketing. And I started my own marketing business with a colleague of mine, a friend of mine, Birds of a Feather, it was called, and it was a wellness collective. And we produce wellness retreats for all different kinds of categories: women that are getting pregnant, women that are aging, women that are needing a break from work. And I just went on a journey through. It's been about 12 years now I've been on my own. So I
Wow.
started in wellness and I've been still marketing and doing consulting and advisory for founders and startups and smaller companies in wellness and entertainment. And then about 5 years ago, I decided, you know what, I'm really working with these people on their business, but I'm really working with them on their belief system. And so I trained to be a coach and now I do both. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's amazing. I feel really like it's been full circle for me.
That's so cool. Did you find that when you were deciding to just transition to being a coach, what What was, like, the biggest hurdle that you had to overcome to decide, like, "I'm just gonna focus on this." We talked a little bit about, like, we're just gonna burn the boat, like, I'm just gonna do
Burn
this
the
and go
boat.
all in.
Yeah, well, I've been back and forth from the island to the shore several times. Being an entrepreneur, as you know, it takes a lot of belief and
It does.
patience and trust, and it is not easy. And in some ways, it is much easier to deal with the corporate stress and the ladder and all of that. But because what I'm doing now is like deeply like ingrained in like who I am and it calls to me, like I feel like that's my calling, it helps me. Um, and I remind myself, I have to remind myself every day that I'm here to serve and that I'm here for a larger purpose and that Rome wasn't built in a day. And I've had to really get super creative with how I fund my business while I'm growing it, and not be what's the word? Not be hasty. So every decision is
Mm.
based on what I think is best for my business and my family. And I'm a mom now, and that also plays a lot into what I'm doing because I feel like I want my daughter to see that you can do anything you put your mind to. And also, I want her to live with a parent and a mother that's like present and not constantly performing and being in a pressure cooker just so I could prove my worth. Like I really want her to see me living in alignment and helping people. And so I do it for her.
That answer, and I think that, how old is she again?
She's
She
7. She's gonna be 8
she's
in April.
7. Yeah, she's at that age where she's gonna start noticing you and what you're doing and actually seeing you check those boxes and get those goals done. I think
Yeah,
that's such a gift, actually, because,
huge.
yeah, you're showing her that you don't have to do the thing that everyone expects you to do, that you actually can decide what you're gonna do with your life and how you're gonna
Yeah.
make your money.
Yeah, and it's not easy. It is not easy. There are times when I wanna go back to shore and, like, I think I've told you this analogy, like, for a long time, I was, like, cruising, like, like, let's call it 7 of the 10 or no, 10 of the 12 years I've been in business, I hadn't looked back, and, I was looking at some of the notes you made about this podcast and something like I left the corporate ladder and I never looked back, but I did. There were times when I have looked back and I've thought to myself, like I had maybe romancing or just like remembering because I missed some of that hustle and that bustle and that identity that was so much who I was. But honestly, every time I sort of get into the thinking about like, should I go back or did I miss something? I truly remind myself like I don't need to go back. I just need to go forward. I'm still the same person. I'm still the same person that did all those things and they come with me. And now what I love about it is that I work with founders and startups a lot. And I bring like big brand, big budget experience into people's lives, which is so important. And all of the lessons and all the stories and all of the stuff that comes along with 20 years in entertainment are things that I contribute to my current success and to my client success. So it's not like I'm not doing it anymore. And of course, who doesn't want that paycheck? Of course, but I'm making my own future. And that is a challenge within itself. But I welcome it because I really believe in what I'm doing.
Yeah, well, and clearly given the jobs that you've had before, I mean, you know how to make things happen. So, when I was thinking about your time at Disney and in the industry, what was like your favorite thing that you ever worked on, or maybe the person that you met that surprised you the most? Something that you just remember from your past career.
I mean, God, there's so many things. There's so many things. But my favorite person that I worked with from a talent perspective was Fergie for the rest of my life. She was just
Fergie, that's amazing.
Fergie was Fergie was amazing, and she used to tell me how incredibly caring and nurturing I was, and it kinda cracks me up because I ended up being a coach, but I mean, I worked with her during the Peapod Foundation, and then we went to South Africa, which was incredible with 33 Productions, Christine Hansen. She took us to South Africa. We did a benefit concert for 40,000 kids, a free benefit concert f for the
That's so cool and
it was
so
incredible,
overwhelming.
and, it was unbelievable. We did a press conference at Nelson Mandela's library. That was outstanding, and I dealt with all the media there, and yeah, Fergie has just always been real, like a real person doing a real thing, and I have so much respect for her as an artist and as a voice and as someone who uses her platform. Yeah, and I mean, she's still a friend and a dear friend, but I do miss those days with
Yeah.
yeah, I miss the days of, like, caring for another person and making them feel like they're fully seen in their when they need it. So I do that for people, but on a very different level, very different than Fergie. There's no more glam.
No.
There's
You're in
yeah,
your living room, in your house, or
I'm in
your
my living
co-working
room.
space.
Yeah, but I'm in a lot of boardrooms,
Yeah.
and I do what I like is I do bop and weave between different companies and different organizations, and I'm a board member of WIC SoCal, so, I'm constantly involved in entertainment still, but it's very different.
Yeah. But I like that that would be hard to leave behind. And I also like that Fergie saw in you and kind of confirmed for you what you said earlier, which was the difference between your passion and like your, I don't remember what the word that you used, but it was
Superpower.
like your actual talent. Yeah. So when she
Yeah.
told you that, like, was that before or after you decided to start your own thing?
That was before, and I remember it, like, I remember exactly when she told me
Yeah.
that. Yeah, we were, like, flying in an airplane, but we were going somewhere. It was during her, like, solo tour, and I remember her telling me how nurturing I was, and it actually really meant something to me because for a very long time, I've always worn my heart on my sleeve, but for a very long time in my career, and even when I got to the peak of it, I really felt like there's no room for me, which is
Mm.
part of why mostly why I have transitioned and went to do something different because I felt like I couldn't wear my heart on my sleeve. She really appreciated me for who I was, and I also have had that same response from all the other clients that I work with, like my Samsung client and my Motorola client that I'm still close with today. I just had this way of seeing people, and I remember them seeing it in me and it feeling so good to be seen and being able to be authentic. And I very much like identify with that person today. Like that is exactly what I help others do, which is live in their career, whether they're in corporate or they're an entrepreneur starting their own thing, or they're a founder and they're bootstrapping their company. Like I very much believe that authentic leadership is where it's at and you should never lose yourself because I did. I mean, I really did. I lost my voice and I lost my way because I thought I had to do it like everyone else was. But no, I was just being myself and she saw that in me and that was like an indication. And I started to pick up on that as I sort of progressed. I think it was like 10 years after that I made the transition.
Yeah. So you said you felt like you had lost yourself and your voice. Like, what do you mean, like in the corporate sense?
Mhm.
And what did that feel like for you? Like, do you think you could have kept doing it, or
I
what was that
honestly
like?
it was really difficult. So, it was about that time when we were on that tour actually, that I started to realize that it was harder for me to speak up in meetings, and look, there were politics and there were management and there were people that I was working for that were more difficult in, like, the earlier part of my career, and so I sorta just, like, shrunk when it got intense, and I just didn't really have boundaries back then, and I wasn't able to speak up for myself and say what was on my mind thinking that perhaps it wasn't appropriate or second guessing myself, the things we do as we find our way.
Yeah.
But as I started to do that, like my light started to shrink. And I remember I have she was like, she was one of the owners of the company I was working with, but she noticed a change in me and she came to talk to me one day and I was like crying in my office saying like
Oh,
I can't even
yeah.
speak in meetings anymore and, it became really difficult, and she even which was great, amazing, and wonderful, is she ended up getting me a speech coach, which was,
Oh,
quite frankly, one of the best investments anyone's ever made on me, because I realized, like, wow, like, I I need to be able to, like, do this and not crumble. Like, I was just like I wasn't good at poker face, I was hard on my sleeve, and if I was disappointed or scared or anything, like, I was unable to, like, move past it because of sort of the dynamics in the office, and that's a really normal thing as I think I was early 30s maybe? It's a very normal
oh,
thing as you
yeah.
move in your career, but it stumped me a little, and so she got me a coach because we all know that everyone needs a coach. And it helped so much. And from there, I think I went on another 12 more years, something in corporate. It was very beneficial. I ended up like moving on and doing bigger and better things and was able to sort of move past that and find my voice again. And you asked the question about what did it feel like? I think I touched on that, but could I do it anymore? And I couldn't. Like, I just was at that place where I just felt like I was performing to succeed. And I was like, and like the only way to go was burnout. And I had to prove myself. And there was a lot of like imposter syndrome going on because I was trying to do it like everyone else instead of just doing it like me. And I was managing a massive team. And yeah, I was overseeing influencer marketing for Samsung. And it looked amazing on the outside, but it was difficult at that time because it was just sort of at the 11th hour of like it was time for a change. And it was the place that I realized, you know what? This has been amazing, but I got to go. I got to go.
Yeah.
I got to go to greener pastures. So I have, and I left, and there's a lot. I still keep in touch with all those people. I never burn bridges. I still work with brands and I do a lot of activations with a lot of different clients, but I'm not on the agency side anymore. And now I'm supporting people. I really want to go back into those agencies and like help with communications and authenticity and integration and cultural design and all the things. So I just think that it's all been a learning for me.
Yeah. Well, and then now what you're doing is in some ways you're still doing communication. So, like you said, you brought everything with you and now you're applying it to helping people themselves, which is granted not the same as working for MTV. But have you started to see like what is it about your work that keeps you going? When you aren't getting like the big payoff of like, oh, that campaign totally landed, or we just crushed it for, the brand.
Yeah. The payoff for me is honestly seeing a client get it and start flourishing in their life. Like there's nothing more rewarding. And it makes me so excited. First of all, with coaching in particular, like you really have to consent. You have to want to be coached and you have to really be all in and make a commitment, right? And so once you get to that point and we become client, you know, client coach relationship, I expect my clients to be all in, but not everyone's always all in. But those that are all in and those that actually take the sessions really seriously and end up like boxering me between sessions and asking for hope, asking for support or trying out different homework and or coming back to the call with like lots of different questions and examples and really using the time together as a time to advance and grow. It brings me such joy because I can see it working. And I also know how important it is. And I really kind of wish that I had that support when I was at that level of breaking, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I think we're in that place now where there is a lot more coaching atmospheres, and a lot of companies are investing in their employees, which is amazing. But it's so, so important to have that person or that community and that type of support when you're growing. It doesn't matter what level you are. Every CEOs need, CEOs have coaches. Everyone needs
Yeah.
someone to turn to help them work it out. And I love a strategy. And so what I love is I can bring my brand strategy and my people strategy and it's custom for every client. But I love to watch it work. And it makes me feel really, really like purposeful.
I just want to take a quick moment to talk Candace up just a little bit more because she's actually my coach. And I met Candace when I really needed some help figuring out what I wanted to do with my life. And in fact, I'm actually doing the same thing still. I just was having a little bit of difficulty with imposter syndrome. So if you are looking for a coach, if you need someone who will really truly be your cheerleader and help you realize you need to pivot, stay, make changes in your personal life, or even just drink more water, she's the person to call. We'll put her information in the show notes just in case you're looking for someone in your path. Yeah, I love that. So you created, and it's not like your old career wasn't purposeful. It's just that as you grew, you realized that you were done. Like you finished, you did what you wanted to do
Yeah.
and yeah, it wasn't going to get any better. And I kind of appreciate that too because I think so often in relationships, work relationships, jobs, any kind of relationship where there is, you're tied to it in some way, it's really hard to step back and say, you know what, this isn't really going to get any better.
Okay, wait,
And then
really,
changing it.
that's exactly it. It really couldn't have gotten any better. I mean,
It peaked.
when I stopped wanting to go to like Lollapalooza and Fashion Week,
Yeah.
or
Yeah, that
even
answers your question.
Coachella,
Yeah.
I was like, I am out. I mean, which is so interesting, right? Because like in the beginning of my career, I was at MTV and I wanted to go to Beach House and I wanted to go all the things. By the time I got where I got, I was like, I don't want to travel anymore. Like now I do. Now I miss it, right? Like I'm going to go to South by in a couple weeks, and I miss all of that, but I don't miss the unnecessary, like, it just it wasn't aligned with where I'm at. But I do miss some of the projects, and I love building things, and I love, like, the impact that a bigger brand makes on the market, and it is so f I mean, believe me, it was great. Samsung was head to head with Apple at the time, that was amazing, and it's fun, but, I still play. I just play in a different league, in a different way.
No, I like that. You play in a different league. Well, how did you get the courage to switch? Like, was there anybody in your life, like the people around you, were they encouraging? Were they, kind of worried? What went on inside of yourself that gave yourself permission to walk away from really what is a dream career for a lot of people to start something on your own in a completely, not really, but on the outside, a completely different field?
So, I was trying to have a family,
Okay.
and,
Yeah.
um, and I was so stressed out, and I ended up getting pregnant, and the first thought I had was not, "Oh my god, I'm so excited." It was, "Holy shit, I'm stuck." That was information, and anyway, I was
Yeah.
pregnant for a couple of months, and I ended up miscarrying.
Oh, that's awful.
Yeah,
I'm
it was
sorry.
awful. No, thank you. It was hard, but it also gave me so much information because I was like, while I was pregnant, I was like, "How am I gonna do this in this environment?" I really, at that point, was feeling like I was working at the Hunger Games,
Yeah.
and I was actually doing a deal. We did a deal with Lionsgate, and I had never seen the movie, and I was, like, gonna oversee the whole Comic-Con thing, and so I was like, "I better watch The Hunger Games." I watched The Hunger Games, and I was like, "It's my life." It was my life, like, I felt like that, so I had to make that decision, and so I took a mental health break, a couple months off, and I started meditating, and I kid you not, I was just sitting in the window of my apartment one day, and all I kept hearing was wellness. I just heard wellness, 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 and I was like, "What the hell is wellness? Why am I hearing?" And I kept hearing wellness, and then I kept realizing, I mean, I had a deep yoga practice at the time, and at the time, I was working with Deepak Chopra on the VIP program at Samsung, like, I'd just given him a phone or something. But I was excited about, like, Deepak Chopra's work way more than, like, all the other bullshit that was going on. And can you imagine all the other people I was white gloving? But Deepak was the most exciting person I was working with at the time because I was just needed more, you know? So I think, between meditating, hearing wellness, and that, I just thought, "You know what? I think I need to, like, take everything I know and bring it into this new world of wellness," because all the different pillars, like, I'd already done. I did music, I did entertainment, I did sports, art, all the things, and I felt like, and gaming, like, I'd done all that too, like, up until that point, I just felt like wellness was really the next vertical that was, like, gonna make a boom, which clearly it has, and so I was like, "I'm going for it." I mean, it's kinda the same thing if you think about it. Business is business, so I'm sure I could learn that. So I just, like, I decided to just place my bets on wellness, and then I went on a little journey inside and just, like, started to learn more about myself, and I did a yoga teacher's training, actually, because I was really into my at the time, my practice, and that was what was keeping me sane, and I learned so much, and it was incredible, and I did it not to become a yoga teacher, although I did teach for, like, a stint, but it was more just, like, something I always wanted to do that I never had time for, and it showed me that I had a voice and that I wanted to have a voice, and it kind of that's how I found my way here. This is really
Yeah.
where I'm supposed to be, but it started from saying no to that, saying yes to all the things that were filling me up, and that was a crazy time. I mean, because my whole identity changed, and it was terrifying. It really, really
Wow.
was, and I still think that I'm learning from it. Like, it's not easy to make a decision like that. It's
No,
very
not at all. And especially when you said your entire identity changed. It sounds like you had to give up a lot.
I did, even though I thought I wasn't, because I was sort
Yeah.
of done, but I really, 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 like, I really did. And I think that's okay, because if I was still doing that, my life would be so completely different. You know, I have a 7-year-old, a wonderful marriage, and, like, a thriving business that's supported by, like, what I really feel my purpose is. It could be more thriving, of course, like, there's always the wave, but quite frankly, I feel really fueled by my purpose now, and, that isn't gonna pay the bills or help me in retirement, but between now and then, big things are happening. Stay tuned.
Yeah, you're gonna make them happen. You know what to do. You're doing it, right?
I
Like,
am doing it, Sarah. I really
yeah,
am. I am
I
doing it.
know. I reached out to you because why did I? Oh, I reached out to you because you had posted something and I randomly saw it on LinkedIn and I just thought, you know what it is? I was like, oh, this is somebody I want to know. This is just somebody I want to know.
Oh, thank you. My video or something was
Yeah.
something. I
Yeah.
loved it. When I heard from you, I was like, I want to know her. I
We
mean,
need more of that. I think I think people are starting to this not having any authenticity or having to leave ourselves behind to go to work. It's just not functional.
right. The digital world has opened up plenty of possibility for us to expand our horizons. It's also obviously a little challenging, but it does make room to make relationships and impressions with complete strangers across the world. And that's how we met. Well, we met because obviously Shimmick, and I was so excited that you found me, then I found you. And I was like, oh my God,
I
Sarah
know.
is working with Steve Shimmick. Oh my God. So Steve,
It was the
just
whole thing.
for all those listening, Steve and I worked together at the beginning of my PR career. So he's known me since the beginning of Candace, not Candace 3.0, but
Candace
Sarah,
3.0.
and Candace 3.0. But I was so excited you were working with him. And then as I got to know you, I realized why. So yeah, it's been a nice full circle. And I'm really happy to have that you found me. And I'm glad I put myself out there to make that video, which I don't do a lot of. Like, that's also part of
So
the
funny.
part of the thing that's such a interesting thing is when you're on your own, you have to market in a different way. And some of it is uncomfortable. It just is, but I'm doing it. I'm doing
Yeah,
this
you
today.
are. What is the most uncomfortable thing for you to do?
Public speaking.
Really?
Public speaking makes me buzz and leave my body and anxious. And guess what? I launched my public speaking business last year. Now I'm getting paid to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like you know what? The hardest thing for me in college was reading. And so I majored in English. I'm that girl. I do the thing that's hard because I know the thing, and this is what I help my clients with. The things that bring you angst or make the most noise are get curious about them because there's so much on the other side of it. And I think for me, because I held it in for so long,
Right.
that
Yeah.
it didn't come out, and then I get nervous doing it, but when it starts coming out, it's so real and it needs to be shared, so I think it's important. Like, I actually do it now as part of my business, but it
Yeah.
still makes me uncomfortable.
Do you think that was because, like, in your earlier career, did you feel like you kind of had to go along to get along?
Yeah, God. I had to go along to get along. I remember my first, like, agency pitch. It was like an RFP. You'll crack up. It was an RFP for Yahoo.
Okay.
And,
Wow.
okay, I was like the account exec, and I went to the pitch and rehearsed it with my boss, who was the VP and the owner of our agency. It was like the three of us going to this pitch. And I remember being in the boardroom, and it was time for my slides, and I was just reading the slide, and there were crickets, and I felt like I did such a terrible
Oh
job
my
that it
gosh.
haunted me legit for the rest of my life. Like, it's so ridiculous. I'm the worst critic, but I remember that, and yes, I had to go along to get along. And I think that we're our own worst enemies. And I know for sure I am, like, as much as I appear to be confident and courageous, I still have a very much an inner critic that I work with and deal with. And you know, I get rid of her a lot, but she shows up still. Like, she's just, you and I have discussed this before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've
So
named them.
we've named her, and I'm not telling her name because she's probably
No, no.
listening, but
Yeah.
but she's a bitch and she needs to go because there's no room in here. I forget what yours is. I'm remembering it. Anyway, I know your name.
I do have one. That's so funny. I love that. And you know what? I feel like it's weird because when you're in the corporate world, yeah, I think you made a difference. And of course you made a difference in the individuals that you worked with. Like I think
Yes.
you said Fergie, I think you mentioned Taylor Swift. I don't know how close you
Oh
were
my
to her.
gosh. Yeah. No, yeah, Taylor. Taylor. We did. Yeah. I worked with Taylor along for her first two tours. It was unbelievable. It was before I'm a full on Swiftie now. Yes. But not just
Okay.
her.
Well,
Not
yeah.
just her, but like people that reported to me. Like, I think about my assistants that I worked with that are like now like VPs. Like, I'm so proud of them. Like, there's people, not just celebrities, that I obviously made a difference. But I hear that in a lot of people, even clients and stuff that I used to work with, which makes me feel so good. Like I could be myself. I didn't think that I could be. Clearly I was
Yeah.
wrong. I kind of wish I knew that back then, but it's okay.
Well, and I think that's what's so wild is that yourself was probably still coming out even if it was stunted. So
Yes.
somehow, even if it wasn't in the boardroom, it was in your day-to-day interactions
Yes.
and it was gonna happen. I just think that yourself was there's no way that you could have continued to be silent. I think it happens. Like, that's why people have heartburn.
Right. Right. And so I just had all the like I just needed to develop better boundaries, which is why I think it's so incredibly important to speak up when something's on your mind or if someone crosses you at work. And I mean, there's so much of that. It's not just entertainment, it's every job, it's every
Yeah, it is.
organization. It's just so important communication, but I just yeah, I didn't excel in it at the time. And also, it really was swimming with the sharks, let's be honest. And I did it. I swam with the
Yeah.
sharks. I can work with them too, but I want to help them now rather
Yeah.
than make them money.
You want them to be like in what is it, in Finding Nemo, the sharks? They're vegetarian sharks?
Oh my yes.
Yeah.
No, this look, and there's a thing called karma, and I know that it's out there, but there's a lot of I just think that kill them with kindness. You get more with sugar than you do with vinegar. My mother always told me. And I do think now though that being able to speak up when you need to, I don't even know how not to. I mean, and then now it translates into my personal life as well. I mean, I definitely like if you're in my inner circle, I will let you know what's on my mind, which is amazing because I didn't do that for way too long. I'm like the
I can't
opposite.
believe that.
I know
I
it's
cannot
hard.
believe
I'm
that.
sure, but it's true. It's true.
Yeah.
I'm a world of contradictions.
Well, no, it sounds like I mean, so many people don't grow, right? So there's a lot of Candace 1.0s that are still
Yes.
working their way through the ladder, still trying to, you know,
Yeah.
make it work, shrink themselves down because I think that's what they need to do. But, I think that's like my hope for this because I also am not on like a traditional corporate ladder.
Right.
And sometimes it is hard. Like, I definitely get imposter syndrome every once in a while, but then everyone's like, "Oh, well, we'd rather do what you do." And, it just is such a reminder that you just gotta think about what your own personal self needs
Yes,
and then do it.
100%, 100%. And also, like, if you are an entrepreneur or you are not in corporate and not on a trajectory that's like that you can predict. Yeah, you have so much, but you also have to think so much further in advance, and
Yeah.
you really
Yes.
have to put the time in to nurture your relationships and it's okay to ask. Like it really is okay to ask, like or to put yourself out there. If you don't ask, you don't get. Um I am I've been working on that more the past year or so and getting a lot better at it, but it's still not easy. If you know where your paycheck is coming from, um, there's a lot that's amazing. But if you figure out what you really want to do and you actually need to like bet on yourself to do it, it's like there's no time like the present, you know?
Yeah.
I think that I'd rather take on a bunch of like smaller things on the side and keep my thing going than like go back to something that makes me completely miserable and takes me off my path. Um, but that's just how it is.
Yeah.
It's a
Well,
risk and a trade-off.
it's everything is a trade-off and it definitely has to do with the level of risk, risk tolerance as well, which is why I find it so interesting that you were so risk adverse. So tell me what you were like as a kid then. I mean, I would say you're risk adverse though, because you also majored in English. So I gotta know, okay, what were you like?
Okay,
What
first
was
of all,
your middle school self like?
oh my god, I was in drama.
Oh,
I was a drama kid. I was like an actress and, very outgoing, like lots of friends, I got okay grades, but I got lots of U's for talking in class. Um, and yeah, I wasn't like, I was pretty much like, I did what I was told and but I hung out with all the wrong guys, always.
yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah.
married the right one. I got it right at the end, but, um
Congratulations.
But my younger self, I guess I was a rule follower. I wasn't really, and I was more of I liked trends. So I was never like beating to my own drum. But I also always, since I was very young, I've always been an entrepreneur. I had a barrette business. I had a rock t-shirt business that I like redesigned rock t-shirts. Before I had my own thing, I had my own thing. I was always
Yeah.
like a little entrepreneurially. And I also don't need to be in a box. So no matter if you put me in a club or whatever, I was never that person that would just stay in the box. No boxes. No
Yeah.
boxes.
Yeah.
So I'm
So you're
very
like,
similar to
yeah.
who I am now.
Yeah. Yeah. So just somewhere along the way, you just something, was there something that happened or was it just like a general vibe as you were moving through companies that made you feel like, you know, talk less or,
I had, I guess the first part was that I worked for someone who I deeply admired, but I don't think that he was as mentally stable as he could have been. He, and
yeah.
he had like sort of two sides to him, and he would
Mm.
build me up and then he would tear me down. And excuse my puppy. Um, yeah, it was a lot. So I wanted to keep him happy because he was like the owner of the company. So I just like, I didn't really know how to deal with it. And I wasn't the only one that had a hard time with it. It was sort of the beginning of this situation that I allowed, and I
You were
just was
young.
really deeply unhappy. I would call the job itself and project, it was amazing. It looked amazing on the outside, but I'd call my mom crying every day after work. And I hated it at this. I went from this is the greatest experience of my life. I was there for 5 years to this is the worst experience. And I never want to experience this again. And I have a lot of therapy over it, a lot. But so that was part of it. And then the other part was me just not being assertive with and having boundaries. And it is so important in business, especially women in business, because when men do it, it's fine. And when women do it, they're bitch, and we
Yeah.
look like we're being catty and we look like we're not being agreeable. Not we're strategic, not we're putting our foot down. It's not really appreciated as much. It's a little bit different now in this world, in this day and age. But 10 years ago, it was not okay. Things have shifted. I know the narrative has shifted and obviously Me Too and all the things have happened. So maybe people are listening a little more, or maybe we think they are, but it's very different than it used to be. And there's no way if you were a boss like back then, you had to be a bitch. Like the other thing that happened was I had a woman hire me because she thought I was a bitch. And it was, like, insane, actually, and the way that she motivated her team was by fear, and so I was terrified that I was not doing a good job because I wasn't doing it the way and I wasn't managing the team the way she was, and I was so human, and she literally told me in her office one day, "I hired you because I thought you were a bitch." That's when I knew we weren't matched, you know and I think the other thing is that there's not a lot of people out there that people aren't trained to be managers.
No. No, I'm hearing you say these things and it's like what I'm actually hearing, and I've thought this before, just it's unfortunate that moving your way up the ladder means managing people.
It's totally true, right? Yeah, or
Like,
because you have to manage up and manage down, and in a normal, like, environment and culture, that probably would have worked, but in the one that I ended up in the end, didn't. It didn't make sense. It was super dysfunctional, and I just was like, "This is a hard no, and I'm out." And I didn't actually plan, by the way, to, like, never look back. I just was so excited with what I was doing in wellness and what I was building and who I was meeting and just the opportunities that felt really aligned with me and my purpose, and I just followed it. And it's been a beautiful 12 years. It really has. And now I'm get to this point and I'm expanding back. I'm working more in entertainment now. I'm working more in tech now and it's fun. I missed the heartbeat of that, but now I have like the breadth and depth of what I've done in wellness, which is great and fun. And now I work more with people, which is really what I think is really my purpose. So,
yeah.
it's been a risk and a trade-off, but I'm happy to be where I am and I'm looking forward to continuing to grow.
Thank you again for tuning into this podcast. I want to take a quick moment to thank Carrie of CMCK Media. He has an amazing podcast studio and incredible editing capabilities. And there's no way that I ever could have produced this podcast at this quality and caliber without him. So go give his website a visit and find him on LinkedIn. He has some pretty good stories to share too. Well, and then tell me this. So, because you did have some workplace experiences that are not great, but also not uncommon. In fact, honestly, it's still like that in some places and still very common.
Yep.
So, when you go into workplaces now, how do you explain to leadership why maybe their style isn't working? Or how do you help leadership and HR and all those, because this is another topic we were talking about last week at an event we went to called Healthier Men at Work. And just, I feel like it's two steps forward, one step back, right? Like now we're in a position where they're getting rid of DE&I, where they're, trying to kind of push everything, including the workplace, back a decade. How are you approaching leadership and helping them understand, like, your employees are only going to do as well as you treat them?
I mean, that is such a long, extensive way of saying there's just so many ways to lead. There's so many ways to lead. One of the things that I started last year was a program called How to Lead Without Losing Yourself. And I do it now for talks and I do a workshop on it. And like it's been incredibly helpful for my clients. I've looked at like helping people lead with their values. And so like we actually identify like what are your values? Where are you leading from? Where are you coming from? So people can understand like you got to connect back inside you got to be a better example inside before you can lead anyone outside. Also energy, right? Sounds so wooey, but energy leaks in business are, I feel like, one of the number one ways for miscommunication and also that lead to stress. Um, and I feel like we need to look at, and I help people do that. Where are you leaking energy? And what I mean by that is if someone is actually, if you're in a situation at work and you're not resolving it in some way, it's weighing you down and it's costing you time and money because you're thinking about it while you're doing something else. You're worrying about it. You're avoiding it. 10 times more energy and 10 times more time than nipping it in the butt, right? And so energy leaks super important. And really like what is your what how are you showing up? Like what is the energy that you want to be walking into? What do you want your team to feel? How do you want your team to leave? Really having an intention with like what your goals are with your team and how you want to show up as that leader. I don't think people are doing enough of that. And if they are, it's because it just comes naturally. It's not because someone's exactly like coaching them behind the scenes. But um those are three things that I think are super important with how we're leading in today's workplace.
Yeah. Have you seen any, like, what is your biggest success this year then in all of those things kind of combined?
My I loved last it was actually this year because we're just closing in on February, but I'm about to start up another program that I did last year, which is called Power Your Pivot, and that was incredible. And it's helped. I mean, God, as you know, the market is insane. There
Yeah.
is so much
Yep.
noise, so many people losing their jobs, so many people that are miserable but like scared to leave. I mean, in every industry. And so Power Your Pivot was a program that I started last year, and I'm continuing it. I'm about to launch another one, and it's been a great success. I mean, I've had like 10 people go through the program, which is awesome. And everything starts small, right? Because I'm not like a huge international yet, right? We're not there yet. But
Yeah.
it's been incredible. 2 people have gotten jobs out of it. One
Oh,
other
that's
person is
great.
about to sign up again, which I'm excited about. And it was a 6-week program that I'm making into 8 or 12 weeks this time, but it really is like a small community and it's guided like group coaching. There's a new lesson plan every week. There's homework and it gives you not just a community of people going through a transition at the same time, but it
Yeah.
also live coaching, office hours, and then like tactical ways to actually apply yourself in networking and finding a job, figuring out what it is that you actually really want to do and how to lead those conversations and create those relationships. And I've loved it because I've been in that situation so much where I've had to figure out in the last couple of years, like, do I want to go back to shore and look for something? And how do I do that in this market? Things have shifted so much
They have.
um, that it's like my little way of paying it forward.
Yeah. That's great. I think that people, I liked what you said, people are scared to leave. They don't feel like they can. They might get let go anyways. And besides jobs being hard, now we have the added pressure of them possibly going away. It's like the
Right.
worst relationship. It's a bad relationship.
100%. Well, yeah, the relationship you never leave. Like, it was like 10 years past my expiration date by the time I actually left. Like, I felt like I was doing like traditional media relations for like 10 years longer than I wanted to be, right? And then I branched into marketing. But forever and a day I was like, this isn't really what I need to do more. And so when you have that thought and that feeling and that like voice in your head telling you anything, personal or career, like it's just that nagging voice that's reappearing, you gotta listen to it. I didn't listen to it for so long, which is why I think I did lose my voice and I did lose my way. And now not to say that I don't still have the voices, because I do still think like, "Oh, wouldn't it be great if this could be more consistent?" And of course, I want my business to be double the size it is right now. And but the reality is that it's the grass isn't always greener. And you really got to figure out what it is that you're supposed to do and you want to be doing, because work is work, right?
Yep.
Um, I, I love what I do, and every day I wake up and I feel like I have a purpose. But also, yes, of course, I would love to be back making, having an expense account and a massive, I don't have to worry about paycheck, but it's not like that. So,
Yeah. Well, and it sounds like honestly, you're happier. And I think that, again, I do think it's really courageous to make that choice because there are so many people that wouldn't or can't for other
right.
reasons too. I mean, well, I think we do have to mention, like, it is also amazing that you could, because there are a lot of people that legitimately could not make a move like that. So if you are stuck in a job or in a role that legitimately because of family illness, maybe you're a single parent, so many reasons why you have to
100%.
stay. Like, what do you suggest to people who are, kind of just where they are and not really able to make maybe a career or a job change? How do you do you ever coach people on making the best of kind of the situation they're in?
Absolutely. I am not one to tell you to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Like, do not leave. Build a bridge, right? And by the way, building a bridge can happen while you're there. And it should if you don't have another plan B or you have to. Like, absolutely. Um, the reality is you got to figure out like what lights you up and what are the things that really bring you joy, not work related. You got to have some of that in your life. You absolutely have to have some of that. When I was where I was, I had none of that because all I was doing was working and I was completely miserable and I had like totally lost myself. So, my fault. But maintenance, right? Like, how are you taking care of yourself? You and I've discussed this. Like, what's your self care? How are you showing up in the morning? Are you moving your body every day? Are you listening to these voices in your head? What are they telling you? And then ask yourself, like, don't ask yourself what's going to make me successful, what's going to make me money, but what's going to make me feel fulfilled and make me feel proud. And that maybe focusing even 10% of your day on something like that, or of your week, even if you're in a job that's miserable, doing things that are making you feel good or proud or filling you up, and just finding your way. If you don't know what it is you want to pivot into, then figuring that out by kind of figuring out what lights you up and what excites you the most about what you're doing. And if it's completely something different, then figuring out how you're going to get trained or experience doing that and making sure that you mention it to people. Like, be honest. Like, I am pretty open to my network when I'm looking for like a connection, or I'm looking to meet more people in this area, or I'm being honest, like it's been a really bad couple, it's been a rough couple of months and I really could use some introductions. Like, you just have to be honest and put yourself out there, because really people around you want to support you, and there's the only way to do it is together. There's no I in team. Like, everyone has to help each other. Yeah. That's the kind of advice I want to give to the people
Yeah,
listening.
that's really good advice.
Thank
Well,
you.
we have a few minutes left and I just have to know. Okay, circling back to Taylor Swift because I have a 12-year-old.
I love Taylor. Yeah, get it.
Give me a good story. Like
Yeah.
what I mean, how closely
Oh,
did you work? Like what is
oh
it
my
like?
god. Oh my god, Taylor Swift, okay, first of all, she's amazing, truly, and when I worked with her, it was her first 2 tours, and my favorite thing and her mom, because her mom's her manager, right? So it was a lot of
Mhm.
her mom came with her to everything. She had a 13 on her hand, and we did I was working with Verizon at the time, we did a text to win competition where you
Oh,
could
cool.
win a concert, a Taylor Swift concert at your high school. We
Oh, I
went
remember that.
It was in Virginia, so you're really close. So, yeah, we went and surprised a high school in Virginia with a Taylor Swift concert, and let me explain. I mean, it was the days with the it was Fearless, the album, so it was, like,
Yeah.
100 years ago. She's adorable. Absolutely adorable, so lovely. Yeah, and I handle all the PR, so I worked very closely with her, and I at the time, wasn't even a this is funny, I was not a country fan, and to me, she was country, but she
She
was
was, yeah.
adorable and sweet, and honestly, like, she's such a talent. I mean, she choreographed that entire tour herself. Like, this is way pre-Eras Tour, obviously, like, but,
Yeah.
it was wonderful and fun, and now I mean, I have a little girl who is Taylor obsessed, and I do find myself that's like "Oh, your mommy worked with Taylor. Let me show you this." And I feel like you have to know how cool your mom was back in the day. I bet you don't know how cool I am, but that's one little regret that I didn't stay, like, working with, artists like that, but, you never know. Tomorrow I could get a call, and,
You might.
I might.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, if you're
anything's
out there,
possible,
Taylor,
right?
I'd love to help you again. I loved working.
Just go straight to Taylor.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, one last thing, I just was wondering, when you think about what is one thing you would tell yourself, the self before you decided that, I've done all the things I wanted to do in this career and kind of in those moments when you were still feeling really stuck. Like, what is one thing you wish or someone did tell you or you would tell yourself then?
That success isn't what's in your bank account, it's really who you become along the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that you aren't your title, you aren't your bank account, you aren't your job. Yeah, that's not who you are. You're like what's inside of you and what you're becoming and who you're impacting is so much more important than that.
Yeah. Do you think that more people need to hear that?
Yeah. I think people need permission. It's really, especially in this day and age, it's really hard. People need permission to go after what sets their heart on fire. And we also need to be responsible while we're doing it. That's why we build bridges. That's why we, try new things. And that's why we don't just quit our jobs and like
Yeah.
become yoga teachers.
Yeah.
Not that. But but yeah, I think that like life is short and more people need permission to speak up and go after what they want and
Yeah.
claim it. Yeah. Yeah, and it's not easy, but it's relationships like this when you see someone on the internet
Yeah.
and you're like, "I need to know her, and there's a reason," and, like, look at us now. I mean, it's true, right?
It
Like,
is true.
100%. Like, yeah, you're literally my favorite person I met last year. Mean that.
Oh my
I mean
gosh.
it. No,
Thank
I mean it,
you.
and I met so many people last year, but there's just so many different like, there's people coming into your lives, relationships happen, and then you help each other, and you hold each other up, and that's, like, what we do, and it is a small, beautiful world thanks to the WWW.
The I like that, the WWW. Well, on LinkedIn, of course. Not that we're giving them
Yeah,
a shout out, but yeah.
yeah,
Well,
and
thank
AI.
you. And
We even talk about that.
yeah. Thank you so much, Candace, for joining me today. I really think that people are gonna get a lot out of it, especially right now. Yeah, I just appreciate your honesty too,
You're
and
welcome.
your stories. They're really good.
Thanks, Sarah. Thank you. I hope if I can contribute in some small way to someone's journey that it was all worth it. Thank you. And thank you so much for
Yeah.
this platform. I think it's amazing and I love listening to other people's stories as well. So keep going. Keep
Thank
lighting
you.
keep
I
lighting it up.
will.